How are ya? And welcome back to episode 5 of Passivecore, a challenge series where our dwarven rogue adventurer Shaghass is unable to craft war in a world of Warcraft. Remember, Shaghass's journey is a tough one, considering he can only obtain experience via exploration and completing selected quests. This is classic World of Warcraft, meaning absolutely no experience via gathering professions, and we're using Ultra Hardcore as an add-on for that extra layer of difficulty and immersion. If you enjoy watching this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode, and drop a comment below. I'm also live streaming all of this over at DZTV on Twitch and right here on YouTube. No gameplay will ever be conducted outside of a live stream. And in the last episode, we did it. We finally reached level 10. That's our first real milestone of this series hit. We're halfway to level 20, our main goal, and it feels so good, especially after losing Shaghass to the Murlocs of Westfall. Now of course, as we're halfway there, if I do hit level 20, I consider Passivecore complete. However, I will obviously keep pushing as high as possible beyond that goal. So after returning to Stormwind, I realized we have a problem. Shaghass is broke.
If you're a broke boy, just say so.
But luckily, mounted his Stormpike in Loch Medan, the same dwarf who helped us push us to level 10, had a follow-up quest to deliver a message back to Furin Longbeard in Stormwind, which gave us a much-needed 6 silver reward and 975 experience. I ran around the capital, searching for more quests, and in the Cathedral District, I found Barris Alexton, who wanted me to retrieve a compass from his farm in Westfall. He offered a healthy 7 silver for it. This would be a very dangerous quest, riddled with devious pillages in particular. But Shaghass can be quite resourceful. But with only 5 silver in my pockets, I decided it was time to stop being a broke dwarf. I still haven't seen a full gold coin in this series yet, which is embarrassing for a dwarf. So I went back to my plan: alchemy. With the excessive amount of herbs I've been collecting, I'll level up my alchemy to level 80 and begin creating and selling blackmouth oil, which sells in the auction house for a hefty chunk. However, the cruel pagan gods of RNG declined me this blessing today, and I hit level 77 alchemy and used up all my materials. I ran over to the auction house and decided to dump all these elixirs I'd made, hoping for some extra pocket money, and thought I should head out picking more herbs, when I noticed the Darkmoon Faire is in town. So for those that don't know, the Darkmoon Faire in Classic WoW alternates between Elwyn and Mulgur each month, and I basically never do it. But while exploring the fair, I noticed a bunch of quest givers asking for items that seemed pretty obtainable for me. These quest markers are blue as well, which makes me think they're repeatable, and if I get XP from them, this might be a pathway to level up that I hadn't considered. While in Goldshire, I spoke to the rogue trainer and got my first rogue class quest: find SI7 in Stormwind. I kept it in the log for later, and then finished gathering the last ingredients needed for the Westfall stew, and then handed them in to Salma at Westfall. She gave me a new kitchen knife, a copy of the recipe, and 900 XP. Before I left Westfall, I decided to loiter around Benny Blanco's house. If someone could cause a distraction for me, I might be able to open the closet and steal the watch Farmer Furbro wanted. So I waited, and I waited, and waited, but to no avail. I'll simply have to try this again another time. So I headed over to the Alexton farmstead for Barros's compass, and this place is terrifying. The device here are all around level 15, and at our level, this is basically instant death. But somehow, I actually found an opening. I slipped in, stole the compass right under 3 defiant noses, and immediately halved out like a coward. A successful coward. After hearthing to Ironforge, I checked the mailbox, and some of my elixirs had sold. I crafted more and got to level 80 alchemy, and learned the blackmouth oil recipe for 2 silver 50 copper, leaving me for the first time since the beginning of the series, under 1 silver again. But now, we had the recipe, and I still had fish saved from earlier episodes. I craft up a batch of oil and list them for about 12 silver each. Before leaving Ironforge, I also noticed a dwarf clad in Darkmoon garb, so I spoke with him, and he gave me a quest to visit Darkmoon Faire. This might be some extra XP, so I took the quest to hand in the next time in Goldshire. Jumping into the Deeprun Tram station, I saw a really tiny pirate dwarf, Monty, who offered me a strange quest to collect 5 rats. Alive. Now, I wasn't pleased about handling vermin, but this was still a quest I could do, and so I handed it in for 900 XP. He boxed the rats up and told me to deliver them to his brother Nipsey for... wow, only 90 XP, are you serious? This got me wondering though. You see, Nipsey runs a kebab shop. What is he going to do with those rats? Am I essentially an accessory here to the murder of innocent lives? Does this technically kill the run? You guys can let me know in the comments down below if I failed the run or not, but hey, it's no time for semantics. I returned the compass to Barris, Alexton, and Stormwind for 1050 XP and hit level 11. Worth every bite of that kebab. I didn't eat the rat kebab, but I do want to say this isn't a vegan run, as some of you have dubbed it. Listen, as long as I'm not dishing out damage, I can sleep at night, and also I didn't eat the kebab. That's disgusting, it's rats. Since I was already nearby, I ran back to the Darkmoon Faire and handed in the quest I got back at Ironforge for 650 XP. So it does seem like there's potential for quest XP here, but I'm still not 100% sure about the repeatable ones. Regardless, I don't have the materials as of now to test, so we'll need to refocus. Now that I'm level 11, I open up my talents and put another point into Master of Deception, and take a griffin ride to Menethil. Jump on a boat to Orbadine, and notice a few quests here as well. First, I spoke with Gwyneth Gwyneth, and she asked me to investigate some murlocs surrounding a giant creature that had washed up on shore. Just below the wharf nearby was a dwarf, Gubba Blump, who offered me a new fishing rod if I could catch him 6 Darkshore groupers. I love fishing, so I picked up the quest straight away. I also noticed a decrepit little dwarf in the attic of the inn who'd lost something called Jaffa cakes in the ocean waters, which sounds like another excuse to fish even more. But we're not done, there's even more quests here, on the other side of town. Alandalan Nightsong required 5 pieces of strider meat, and while I can't obtain these myself through the traditional means of hunting, I can definitely buy these on the auction house. I also found another quest, and this one's an interesting one I'd like your opinion on. This elf requires me to capture a rabid thistle bear, which requires damaging it until it's weak enough to cure. Now, already you're thinking that this is disqualifiable because you can't damage in this series of Passivecore. However, I'm thinking I could use a help token here for this, and hire someone to deal enough damage in my party while I capture it. Now, I'm a bit worried that doing this may count towards the tally as a kill, but otherwise I do think that this is possibly acceptable. Very risky, but acceptable. For now, I'm not going to take the quest, but let me know in the comments if you think it's fair and how you'd rule it. I pick up another quest to find a corrupted Furbolg village, and with all the quests picked up in Orbadine, I take a hippogriff ride over to Darnassus. You see, before I can complete any of the mountain of quests I currently have, I have 2 things to attend to in Dolanaar. The first thing is seeking out the rogue trainer to pick up my second available rogue quest, and also learn a few new spells. Pickpocket for 1 silver, Sap, which does require daggers, but it deals no damage and incapacitates, so it's usable in this challenge, and I picked that up for 3 silver. And a big one here, Sprint, for another 3 silver. And the second thing on my list here is running to the top of a building I've actually never visited before in this town, which is a suggestion made by commenter Slingshot Footy to pick up a quest called Emerald Dreamcatcher that I'd missed. It requires you to go to the nearby village of Starbreeze and find a Dreamcatcher. So I do just that, and my first attempt went horribly. I sapped the Furbolg that's in the house where the Dreamcatcher is, but it broke early and I pulled the attention of half the village, including a rare. I sprint away and try again, but my second attempt was also horrible. This time though I committed and I did manage to pick up the Dreamcatcher, sprint out and handed it in for 410 XP. Now I gotta say this wasn't worth the stress, but it does count, and it's 410 XP I would have missed. So thank you again Slingshot Footy for the suggestion. So now I think it's time that we get started on these rogue quests. I meet up with a rogue elf who required me to find Sethere the Ancient up in the branches of the World Tree. On offer for this quest was a fantastic Blade of Cunning, which would be a most welcome stat stick. This quest though, if not done correctly, could be a very dangerous endeavor. But through my own roguelike cunning, and reading the quest on Wowhead, I stealthed behind the Ancient One, and I pickpocket his journal for an easy quest completion. On the way back to Darkmoon, I made a detour to the auction house and looked up Strider Meat. And yeah, 20 silver is just way over my current budget. 20 silver each, by the way. And curiously, the relatively easy to make Darkmoon Faire items, they're all similarly expensive. So for now, that whole system goes on hold until we can craft these items ourselves. We'll craft these up throughout the next couple of months, and the next time Darkmoon Faire comes around town, we'll check it out and we'll see if we can get some XP. I turned in the rogue quest for 850 XP, equipped the Blade of Cunning, and what a beautiful blade. Completely ornamental, this knife will never spill a drop of blood. Not on my watch. We're still chipping away at this mountain of quests in my log, so I decided, hey, it's a nice day for fishing. So I perched up on a rock and let my rod do the talking. I fished up the necessary groupers and got some extra for the auction house, and got all the needed gaffer jacks to hand in to that weird addict dwarf for 460 XP. He actually had a second quest available for me, and this one was to visit a river or a lake in Darkshore and fish up even more items, this time electro pillars. I saw Gubba Blump and handed in 6 groupers for 975 XP, and he gave me a brand new fishing pole. While exploring the woods of Darkshore to find a lake, I found one of the corrupted Forborg camps, and a really nice spot for fishing right next to it. So I made camp and began casting out in search of electro pillars. While fishing, a tall elven lady with the pointiest ears you've ever seen walked by and asked if I, Shaghass, was scared. But no, I could never be scared of all the terror around me. I am but a pacifist, sure, but the world of Warcraft can be such a beautiful place. After a long while, I fished up the needed 12 electro pillars and handed in for 900 XP, and also reported back to Terenthus about the corrupted camp nearby my beautiful fishing spot for 750 XP. He asked me to then report to Thunderous Windweaver, which I did for a further 110 XP, and I was asked to travel north to a waterfall in order to collect a sample of the water. An easy task, but some time had passed, so I decided to check my mail before I headed out. And finally, some coin. It's not much, but it's a start. Sitting at 32 silver now. I made my way over to the waterfall, collect the sample, and turned that in for 800 XP. Sadly, with nothing else safely to complete in the Elven lands that have been really good to me today, I head back to Ironforge and begin the dwarven portion of my rogue quest. I meet up with Halfdan Blackbeard for 420 XP, and I'm then tasked with finding a dwarf, Onin, nearby a weird sounding place, Nomerigan. Before heading out, I list some excess items on the auction house and set out to find Onin. I found him stealthed right next to a little diseased green dwarf. Disgusting! If I wasn't a pacifist, I surely would be killing this horrid pest, putting it out of its misery. But that diseased dwarf, he was in the way of reporting to Onin, and I didn't want to risk becoming infected. So I sap him, quickly hand in for 850 XP, yoink the next quest, and sprint away to freedom. And with that, I hand in to Blackbeard for another 850 XP, and level 12 under my belt. I threw a further talent point into Master of Deception, so we're 3 out of 5 now, and that is where we'll leave it for today. The biggest roadblock we've seen here was money, and I need to solve that soon. Thankfully, not too many close calls today, but in the next episode, it's time to visit Loch Modan. So all of that luck we're having, it could very well change here. I hope you enjoyed episode 5, and if you have any suggestions you'd like to see, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. Goodbye for now.